The house was quiet, too quiet. Only the sound of the ticking clock on the wall kept time with her shallow breaths. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, a faded photograph trembling in her frail hands, a photo of a life that once held joy, now reduced to whispers and shadows. She hadn't spoken to anyone in days. No visitors, no phone calls, just the creeping certainty that her final moment was approaching. Stage 4. No treatment had worked. Doctors had sent her home with a sentence, "Make peace." There's nothing more we can do. And tonight she had. A single lamp lit the corner of the room. On her desk, a handwritten letter, one final goodbye to the world. No tears were left to cry, only a strange calmness, as if the soul had already accepted the end. She looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "If there's anything left out there, if you can hear me, I don't want to die like this. Not alone." Silence. She closed her eyes, exhaled slowly and laid back on the bed, ready for the darkness to take her. And then, knock, knock, knock. The knock echoed through the house, but Emily didn't move. She must have imagined it. No one had knocked on that door in months. Then again, knock, knock, knock. She forced herself up, heart pounding. Her body, weak from months of illness, trembled with the effort. Step by step she reached the door, and when she opened it, nothing, just wind. The street empty, the night cold. But as she turned to go back inside, something caught her eye. A child's footprint, small, barefoot, marked in the rain on her porch. Emily froze. A memory stirred. She was 8 years old again, standing outside in the rain, just like that child must have been. But no one had opened the door for her back then. She had knocked and cried and waited, hoping her mother would come back. But her mother never did. That night, the memory, it had changed her. A part of her heart had closed forever, and now decades later, someone or something had just knocked on her door in the same way. Her hands began to shake. She sat back down, unable to stop the flood of memories. The abusive foster homes, the years of silence, the friendships that failed, the jobs lost, and eventually the illness that arrived like a thief in the night, slowly stealing everything until only emptiness remained. She whispered into the room, "God, is this you reminding me that I was always alone, even when I begged for someone to open the door?" But deep inside, a flicker, a feeling she hadn't had in years. Not pain, not fear, hope. The storm began with a low rumble. Rain hit the windows like fingers tapping on glass. Emily sat motionless, staring at the footprints on the porch, already fading with the falling rain. She closed the door, locked it, and leaned against it, feeling the weight of the night settle on her chest. The house was cold, the silence heavy, the kind of silence that made the soul ache. She returned to her bed, too weak to think, too numb to feel. The lamp flickered, once, twice, then it went out. Darkness swallowed the room, and in that darkness, a thought emerged, not hers. A whisper in her mind, "You're not alone tonight." Her eyes opened wide. She reached for the flashlight on the nightstand, but it rolled off, hitting the floor with a thud and disappearing under the bed. Then the air changed, warmer, as if someone had lit a fire in a house with no flames. She could hear something, breathing, not hers. Slow, calm, deliberate. Emily sat up, clutching her chest. "Who's there?" she asked out loud. No answer. Then, from the hallway, soft footsteps, barefoot, light, almost like a child walking slowly across the wooden floor. She wanted to scream. She wanted to believe it was the illness making her hallucinate, but the feeling in the room was too real, too sacred. She whispered again, trembling, "God, if this is you, don't scare me." And just as she finished the sentence, a soft glow appeared under her bedroom door, warm, golden, moving, like candlelight, or like someone was standing there, waiting. Emily couldn't breathe. The golden light under her door remained still, as if whoever or whatever side was behind it was waiting for her to speak again. Then, knock, knock, knock. But this time, from inside the house, from the hallway, right at her bedroom door. She gasped. Her heart raced as fear wrestled with curiosity. She had locked the front door. No windows were open. She lived alone. She reached for her phone. Dead. No signal. No battery. No time. Slowly, she stood up, her legs trembling under her. She walked to the bedroom door and opened it. Just a crack. And there, standing in the hallway, was a child, a small girl, no older than 6, soaked from the storm, barefoot, dark curls clinging to her face, but her eyes, They glowed, not in color, but in presence. She wasn't afraid. She didn't speak. She simply looked at Emily with an expression that somehow said, "I've been waiting for you." Emily opened the door wider. She wanted to scream, cry, call for help, but her voice failed her. Instead, the girl stepped forward and gently asked, "Can I come in?" Emily nodded, whispering, "Who are you?" The girl didn't answer. She walked past her, into the dark room, and as she entered, the light followed her. Not from any lamp, but from her. The room warmed instantly. The shadows faded, and Emily, though still in shock, felt no fear, only awe. She sat down on the bed, eyes wide, as the girl stood before her and said quietly, "I'm here because you asked not to die alone." Emily felt tears come to her eyes. How did you hear that?" she whispered. The girl simply smiled and said, "Because he always hears, and tonight he sent me." Emily sat frozen, watching the girl move gracefully around the room, as if she had been there before. The girl reached the desk and touched the goodbye letter Emily had written just hours ago. "You were going to sign it. With love, Emily Grace," she said, without even looking. Emily's heart nearly stopped. How do you know that?" "I know everything," the girl replied softly. She turned and pointed to the photo beside the letter, the same photo Emily had been holding earlier. "Your father gave you this when you were 6, the day before he left." Emily's hands began to tremble. "No one knows that," she whispered. "No one. I never told anyone." The girl smiled gently. "He never really left you. He just got lost, and you never stopped carrying that pain." Tears streamed down Emily's face now. This wasn't a child, this was something else, something holy. "I don't understand," Emily sobbed. "Who are you?" The girl stepped closer. Her voice was calm, pure, and full of something that felt like eternity. "I am a messenger, a reminder, a healing. You cried out with your last breath, and he answered, through me." Emily could barely breathe, not out of fear, but because of the sheer weight of wonder filling the room. The girl sat beside her, small hands wrapping gently around Emily's fingers. "Do you want to be free?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. Emily nodded, barely able to say yes. Then the girl closed her eyes, and in that moment, a pulse, like warm electricity, surged through Emily's body, soft at first, then stronger, brighter, as if her soul was being stitched back together from the inside out. Her pain vanished, her breathing became full, her hands no longer shook. The girl opened her eyes and smiled. "You'll feel better now, sleep." Emily lay down slowly, still holding the girl's tiny hand. Her body felt different, lighter, warmer, whole, no pain, no nausea, no weakness. She hadn't felt this way in years. The girl sat beside her in silence, eyes closed, breathing slow and steady, as if she were in deep prayer or in direct communion with something beyond human understanding. Then something began to shift. The air in the room grew thick, not with fear but with energy. A soft golden glow enveloped the space, shimmering like candlelight but coming from no visible source. It moved like breath, like spirit, and then a scent filled the air. Not medicine, not storm, but jasmine and rain, Emily's mother's perfume from when she was a child. Her eyes widened. She whispered, Is she here?" The girl nodded gently. "Love never dies. It only waits." Emily began to cry again, but this time the tears were not from sorrow. They were from release. Her whole body was vibrating, not shaking but humming, as if every cell was realigning to a frequency of peace. Scars on her arms faded. The color returned to her skin. Her heartbeat, once irregular and weak, was now strong, steady. She reached for her bedside table to check her medication, but the girl placed a hand on hers. "You won't need those anymore." Emily stared at her. "How is this possible?" The girl smiled and said, "What is impossible for man is never impossible for God." Then she stood up. The glow began to fade. The air returned to normal. But Emily was not the same. She sat up fully for the first time in months. No pain, no fatigue, just breath, just life. And in her heart, something new had begun. Faith. The next morning, Emily woke up before the sun, refreshed, alive, and still unsure if everything had been a dream. But then she moved, stood up, walked without effort. No dizziness, no cane, no pain. She rushed to the mirror. The reflection stunned her. The deep lines of exhaustion, gone. The dark circles under her eyes, faded. Her skin had color again. She blinked, touched her face, and whispered to herself, "It really happened." But the room was empty. The girl was gone. No footprints, No sign of her presence. Emily ran to the front door. The porch was wet from the storm, but clean. No sign of bare footprints. No trace of anyone. She went next door to her neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, who always watched the street from her window. "Did you see a child here last night?" Emily asked, breathless. Mrs. Callahan squinted. "Last night? In the storm? No, dear. No one came by. I would have noticed." Emily's heart sank. She visited the local shelters, asking if a child had gone missing. Nothing. She checked the news. No reports. No name. No face. It was as if the girl had never existed. But Emily knew what she had seen, what she had felt. So she did the only thing left to do. She returned to the hospital. Not for treatment, but for proof. Inside the exam room, her doctor stared at the chart, pale as a ghost. "This doesn't make sense," he said, voice trembling. "These are perfect labs. There's no trace of the disease. It's like you were never sick." Emily smiled softly. "I was. Until last night." The doctor sat down, eyes wide. "What happened?" She looked him in the eye and said, "Something no medicine could have done. Someone came to me, and I believe she was sent by God." Dr. Ramsey had been a physician for over 20 years. He had seen spontaneous remissions, rare recoveries, and a few unexplained turnarounds, but nothing like this. He stared at the test results again. White blood cell counts, liver function, tumor markers, all normal. Not better than before, not in remission, just normal, as if she had never been sick. "This can't be right," he mumbled, flipping through the records from the past 6 months. CT scans that once showed tumors the size of golf balls, now completely clean. He looked at Emily, who was sitting upright, radiant, peaceful. "I need to run more tests," he said. She smiled gently. "You can, but you won't find anything wrong." He rubbed his temples. "Emily, we were preparing for hospice, and now you're walking in here like nothing ever happened. Do you understand how impossible this is?" She nodded. "I understand it doesn't make sense to you." "To anyone," he snapped, then quickly softened. "I'm sorry, it's just, I've never seen anything like this." Emily leaned in, her voice calm and unwavering. "Last night I was dying, alone. I asked God not to let me go that way, and he answered, through a little girl who appeared in my house and healed me." Dr. Ramsey stared, unsure whether to cry, laugh, or call someone, but deep inside, something cracked in him. A wall he didn't know was there. He had long abandoned faith, replaced it with data, with numbers, but now he was witnessing something beyond numbers. "She said, God sent her?" he asked quietly. Emily nodded. "And I believe it." The doctor leaned back in his chair, silent for a long time. Then he whispered, "Maybe I needed to see this." That night, Emily returned home in silence. She sat on her porch, staring at the stars, for the first time in years, not because she was looking for answers, but because she knew the answer had already come. She walked into her room and noticed something she hadn't before, a single white feather lying on her pillow. She picked it up, trembling. Then, as sleep overtook her, Emily dreamed. But this dream wasn't like others. It felt more real than waking life. She was in a field of light, no sun, no shadows, just golden warmth stretching forever. And standing in front of her was the girl. But now, she was different. Her eyes still shone, but her clothes glowed like silk woven from starlight. And behind her, wings, radiant, powerful, majestic. Emily gasped. "You're not human," the girl smiled. "I never said I was." "Then, what are you?" Emily asked, breathless. The girl stepped closer and whispered, "I am a messenger, a guardian sent for this moment. You cried out with a pure heart, and heaven answered." Emily dropped to her knees. But why me? I was broken, bitter, full of regret." "You were never abandoned," the girl replied. "Even in your darkest moments, angels stood beside you. You just couldn't see." Tears fell silently from Emily's eyes. "Am I healed forever?" The girl nodded. "In your body, in your spirit, and in your purpose." Then the light began to fade. Emily reached out. "Will I ever see you again?" "You'll feel me," the girl said. "Every time you love, every time you forgive, every time you bring hope to someone else." Then her voice echoed as she vanished into the light. "You are the miracle now." The sun rose gently over Emily's porch as she opened the door. Barefoot, smiling, whole. It had been 3 months since the night that changed everything. The night a child with glowing eyes and no past healed what no doctor could. And now, Emily was alive. But more than that, she was awakened. She had sold most of her belongings. left her old house behind, moved into a small place near the hospice center, the very one where she was once expected to die. But she wasn't there to be cared for. She was there to care for others. Every day she walked the halls holding hands with the forgotten, whispering hope into the ears of the dying, praying quietly for the ones no one visited, and sometimes she would find a feather on her pillow again. A reminder, a presence, a promise. People began calling her the woman with the light. Some said just being near her eased their pain. Others swore she knew things no one could explain. But she never took credit. She simply smiled and said, "Love found me when I had nothing left, and now it flows through me to you." One night, a young nurse asked her, "Do you believe in angels?" Emily looked out the window, where a breeze danced with the curtains. "I don't just believe," she said. "I met one." She was small, barefoot, and she changed everything.